11 reasons why my camera self-timer is great for taking photos of buildings. Hi and welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm McEvoy. I photograph buildings. I'm an architectural, construction and real estate photographer based here in the UK. Now I photograph buildings, but I also have my own podcast, the splendid Photography Explained podcast, available on all good podcast providers. More on that at the end in the promotional bit, as a notification from YouTube comes in while I'm recording this. How splendid. Right then, so camera, self-timer. Why am I talking about this? Well, on my blog I like to write about the photographing buildings and the smallest details really, and the things that maybe aren't so obvious. Now, a camera has I say camera, most cameras, as far as I'm aware, all cameras have a built-in self-timer. Now, why is that? Well, in the blog post there's an extract from the Canon manual where it says, no, it's not on there, is it? Where it says, use the self-timer to get yourself in the photo. I'm actually going to read it out here. Use the self-timer when you want to be in the picture. So that's Canon's #1 reason for the self-timer, so you can be in the picture. Now, that's the last thing I want to do. The last thing I want to do is to be in a photo, obviously. I hate being photographed, by the way. I don't know why. It's a bit ironic, isn't it? But I'm not a fan of having my photograph taken. But so yes, I do that. But there are lots and lots of things I do. There's lots and lots of other reasons, why I use a self-timer for photographing buildings, and I'm going to tell you a couple of them now. Not going to go through all 11 because some of them are a little bit silly. So the first one, and the most important one of the lot, it helps me to get tack sharp photos of buildings. Now, I'm going to read from the blog post here, hope you don't mind. I take every photo I can with my camera securely mounted on a tripod. Well, with camera. That's good, isn't it? With my camera securely mounted on a tripod, 10 seconds after I gently press the shutter release button, my camera takes the photos. Now, I take 3 bracketed photos for pretty much every shot, and this all works faultlessly and seamlessly. In that 10 seconds, the camera has plenty of time to become completely still. Any movement caused by me has long gone. So, my camera is as still as it can be, so there's no camera movement, there's no camera shake. I'm gently pressing the shutter release button. 10-minute timer, it takes the photos. I'm not touching it. So my aim and your aim should be for every photo that we take is that they are as sharp as possible. #1 thing. Well, it's not #1, but it's one of the things that you should make sure you get on every photo. Tack sharp photos. No movement, no camera blur, nothing like that. #2, it means I do not need to worry about the shutter speed. Well, I'm photographing buildings. They tend not to move. Yes, there's mobile homes and all that stuff, but I'm photographing something that isn't moving. So I don't really care about the shutter speed. And the aperture I use is pretty much f8. If I need more depth of field, I use f16, and I'm taking photos at 17mm on a full frame camera. So I don't need to worry too much about the camera settings. What I'm worried about is composition, getting the focus right and capturing the perfectly exposed tack sharp photo every time. That's what I'm doing on every shot, and you should do the same. So shutter speed, not a concern because my camera's sat on a tripod, it's not moving. The only things that are moving are the clouds, and if the clouds are moving quite quickly, I might go with a faster shutter speed to freeze the clouds. But I might not, because blurry clouds are quite nice, aren't they? The only other time is if there was something like vegetation. If I was photographing landscaping on a windy day, then I would want a faster shutter speed, because if the subject matter's moving, it's not much use to me, is it? That's a really good point, that I should add to the blog post. So, it's free. #3, it's free. Doesn't cost you anything. Alright, well, technically speaking, you've already paid for it. So it's not free, it's just that you've already paid for it. But you don't need to buy anything else, so that's got to be a good thing, hasn't it? It's built in. You're not going to forget it. It's not going to be rattling around in the bottom of your bag. It's there. in your camera. Lose your camera and you've lost it, but if you lose your camera, you've got bigger problems, haven't you? So I don't have to remember to pack it. It's built into my camera. I don't need to keep batteries for it. It's powered by the main camera. I don't have to maintain it. It's always there. I don't have to faff around connecting it to something else. Now, the Canon 6D has an app called, well, Canon have an app called Canon Connect, or it was last time I used it, which is a matter of years ago now. And this is a result of that. I don't use that app anymore. I don't even know what it's called, so because I don't need it. I used to use my iPhone, and it was a right old faff, and you'd get problems with disconnecting and what have you, and other complications, and it's not great when you're on a shoot. So it's built in. I don't need to worry about it. I've had other remote releases. I mean, some have been absolutely fine, but it's one more bit of kit. And I don't need an app. That's a good thing. I mean, apps are great, don't get me wrong. I'm not being some old fuddy-duddy bemoaning apps. Apps are brilliant, but if you don't need one, it's got to be good, hasn't it? Lastly, I can include myself in a picture. Check out the blog post at rickmcavoyphotography.com, published today, same day as this video is released. And there is a photo of me at a leisure centre that I did a shoot for. It's a brand new leisure centre, just been built. One of the product suppliers wanted some photos doing, and they wanted people in the shot. And when I went, by prior agreement I hasten to add, there was nobody there. So what I did was I set my timer, 10 seconds, and I walked into the photo, and I looked splendid, I have to say. The photo's in the blog post, so you can have a look at it there. It's all good stuff. How do you use the self-timer? Well, if you go to the blog post, you can see, I can show you actually now. This is my Canon 6D. Now, it's not on a tripod because I've not got a huge amount of room here, but this will give you the idea. It's set. Can you see that? You probably can't. There's two self-timers which are set by pressing the drive button or the thingy on the back. So I'm set on 10 second self timer, not focused on anything. We're focused now, back button focus. Must write about that in a future episode. Glad I mentioned it, Rick. I nearly called myself Chris then for some reason, but I'm not called Chris. So, camera images on a tripod. Press the shutter release button. It beeps. And it flashes. See the flashing light there? That's telling me. And it's taken one photo, and at the same time, an email's come in. How did that happen? Now, it only took one photo because I've only set it to, but if I'm taking 3 photos, it will take 3 photos, and that's it. It's not rocket science, is it? You're just asking the camera to perform a basic function which gives you sharper photos. What's not to love? Right, I'm done. Enough waffling on about camera self-timers. I hope you've learned something here and given you something to think about and something to try out too, which has got to be a good thing, hasn't it? Like I say, check out my blog, rickmcavoyphotography.com. Check out the Photography Explained podcast, available at all podcast providers, and also with its own website, photographyexplainedpodcast.com. If you would like to receive an email from me every week with something that I've been thinking about that week, then head over to rickmcavoyphotography.com, fill in the subscribe form, and I'll send you something splendid I've written about Lightroom. And with that, I will say thanks for watching. I've been Rick McEvoy. See you soon. Cheers from me, Rick.